What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode at the Warehouse Underground podcast, real talk for warehouse, DC, and FC professionals of all levels around the globe. I'm Ben, the host of the show, and let me paint this picture. In warehouses and distribution centers across the country, you always see a problem, and that is excess stock, dead stock, overstock, whatever you want to call it. It's everywhere. Ops managers know about this very well because it causes a lot of problems for them. But it's waste, not only a labor waste, but it's a waste for the total supply chain because a lot of these things, overstock, end up just in landfills. And that is a problem. That's a problem for everybody involved in straight waste. And so everybody always wants to know, what can I do to reduce the amount of dead stock that I have in my facility? Well, my guest on the show today is someone that can definitely help with that. Her name is Amrita Bhasin. She is the co-founder and CEO at Sotira, buy and sell overstock and short-dated inventory. They're doing exactly that for their customers out there. So I'm excited to talk with her today about what Sotira is doing, how it operates, but also her thoughts in general about the supply chain. This is not her first podcast. She's a sought-after speaker in this arena, up and coming person in the industry that I think you guys will really like to hear from today. So excited to talk with her. And with that, I will bring her on the stage. Thank you very much for joining the Warehouse Underground podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no, you got it. This is such a great topic to talk about. I hear from ops leaders all the time that they don't have space, they're running out of room, they don't have control of their inventory. So anytime somebody has a solution or a way out for this type of dead stock or overstock, I'm always interested in. So let me ask you this question. I talked a little bit about in the teaser, the intro, what you do, but high level, can you just explain what Sotira is all about and who are the customers that you serve?
Our goal is to help warehouses, fulfillment centers. So we work with retailers, manufacturers, and brands offload their inventory in a more efficient way. So we have two pathways. We help brands and retailers offload, which means liquidate their product into the secondary market. So we help them sell to buyers that are traditionally in the overstock, short-dated market. So they are very familiar with purchasing this product and with distributing it across the US into secondary channels. So think off-price stores, discount stores, live selling, secondary digital or e-com platforms. All of that kind of encompasses the secondary market. The second option that we provide is we help distribution centers donate their extra product. So in certain scenarios, brands are super particular about where their brands end up, and they worry a lot about secondary market positioning. And so in that case, we come in with circularity focused solutions on how we can help get this product basically to consumers who can use it through donations.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I mean that is such a great solution. I can speak from personal experience on that it's everywhere and it's a problem. So to have this as an option, a solution, because a lot of companies that I've worked with over the years, they don't want to be in this position, but they don't really know what their outlets are for them, right? They don't have an outlet. So now let me ask this, like, you're a young entrepreneur, right? So you're an entrepreneur, you started this company, but different people have different inspiration, different aha moments about how they either discovered or had the idea or uncovered the idea over time. What was that like for you? I mean, what was it like when you started to look at this and go, man, I really think that there's something here. I can offer a solution. What was that journey like at the very beginning?
Yeah, so I used to run e-commerce businesses, and then I started my career actually in the food and beverage liquidation space. So I kind of came into this career with background both from e-com, from the sneaker space. I was very familiar with selling on secondary channels, the whole brand positioning aspect. And my first job when I was in the food and beverage liquidation space, I really learned how the industry worked. Like, I saw the ins and outs of it's really not that easy to handle overstock. Like, it's not that easy to donate product. It sounds really simple. It's like, let's just donate it. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved in it. There's compliance, there's audit requirements. Companies are really particular about where their products end up, even if they're donations, right? If you look at companies like sports teams, I pretty much saw the full view of how overstock is handled. And I recognize that this is a super manual industry. Like the problem of liquidation, the problem of overstock is not a new problem. This is not a post COVID problem. It may be worse post COVID from everything I hear and see from our customers, but really, like the liquidation industry has existed for decades. I think what I think is really interesting now is that with the advent of AI and the advent of technology and the older population in the warehouse industry basically aging out, there's opportunity for somebody like me to provide some level of automation. And that can help us solve this problem faster and more efficiently, which ultimately equates to helping customers make more money or save more money.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think the average person does not realize the depth that that goes into this and all the layers because they just equate it to what they know. What they know is these are the items that I have in my home, and when I want to do spring cleaning, I just throw them out, right?
Yeah.
But brands have they're very selective, right? Everything has to be audited. They've got investors. They've got books that they've got to keep. They have to be protective of what type of secondary markets their items are sold on. In some cases, there's just sort of all these other things that people would be shocked to find out how complex that is. So you're definitely right on that. I remember when I first got in the industry, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you serious? Like just get rid of it, just throw it out there. But in a
It's
lot of
not
times,
easy.
it's not that easy. It is not that easy. So now, is it? Tell me about the nuts and bolts of how it works because I went on the website, so I know it's your tech and it's a software and it's a program, but what does it look like from the perspective of the customer when they are using this? I mean, is this just something that is a software or program that they use? Do they work in connection with you? I mean, if I'm a customer, what am I looking at when it comes time for me to act on this solution?
So, say you are a DC or an MFC, whatever your warehouse distribution network looks like, you can register with us and you can upload an inventory list. So, this can be as basic as an Excel sheet with a few
Cool.
pieces of required data like UPCs, expiration dates if the items are consumables. We'd ideally like to have pictures, names of SKUs. So, you can upload that data to our system. If you are a large customer of ours, we will probably have an integration with whatever your WMS is. So if you have like a
Hmm.
SAP or storage capacity or Blue Yonder, whatever your system is, but at the most basic level, we just need to have an idea of what your overstock is. You upload it to the system, you detail out any restrictions. So, say, for example, you are a sports team and you are super particular. Your brand is based in Las Vegas, Nevada, and you don't want any of that product being distributed in the Las Vegas area, but maybe other cities or other regions in Nevada are acceptable. You would
Okay.
detail whatever those restrictions are, and our system automatically sends out these lists to relevant buyers based on those requirements. So we automate the process of how do we get it in front of the buyers who are most likely to purchase, who are most likely to give you the best price possible. There's an arbitrage aspect to this that if we are able to use technology, we can
Yeah.
basically do the full ROI on this. So a lot of times companies think that they just want to go with the offer that is the most in terms of revenue, but it's not like that. It's a calculation of who can pick up the fastest, right? It's
Yep.
not just money. In this industry, your inventory is effectively a physical asset. It's not just sitting there on your books, but it's also sitting there on your in your warehouse. So you have to think of every single minute or hour that you're holding a product that isn't selling, you're basically losing. So our system, the goal of our system is that we're able to help you make these decisions, and we automate the process of getting your product sold or donated and all the paperwork, compliance, audit requirements, any ESG requirements you may have around this process.
Yeah, that and so there's all sorts of metrics that the average person probably doesn't know about. I mean, you got cash conversion cycle that companies are looking for, and inventory turns, and days on hand, and all these things. And so, all these things that we're talking about count against that. So the longer it takes for them to move it, the less likely they are to hit their KPI, their metric, or whatever. So if there are ways that they can move it faster, I would think that a lot of companies would be on that right away, because and it sounds like this is like very customizable way to mass proliferate, I guess maybe is not a bad word, but so it's giving you, it's a leveraging the tech and the software and the program to do this 50 times faster than what a company would be able to do it on their own, is what it sounds like, because they just don't have that ability. They don't have that knowledge or those resources to do. Is that fair sort of analysis?
Yeah, I would say like the network is a huge part of it. It's like, say that
Yeah.
you run a 3PL and like you got into this business to, run a 3PL to pick, pack, and fulfill orders. Like your customers are your brands, but now you have this problem. Let's say that a brand stopped paying you. So they owe you money and you own those assets now, which means that again, maybe it's a benefit because these assets you can liquidate for money, but you also have this burden now of how do you liquidate this in the first place? Like you're not in the business of liquidation as a 3PL owner. So we
Yeah.
come in and we have this network of donation partners, vetted nonprofits, buyers, and all these different channels available at your disposal that you can use. So for a lot of, warehouse operators who their full-time job is not to liquidate, our platform is really useful.
Yeah, and you're right. And many warehouse leaders, ops leaders, supply chain leaders, the truth is, a lot of times they don't want to deal with this because they're focused on their main metrics, their new product, their new thing, their hot new. And that's why a lot of the dead stock sometimes compiles over time, is just because they don't really want to. It's not pretty, right? It's not a hot new thing. So yeah, you solving that solution for them, which I really like. That is a really cool thing. So let me ask this question. So you have a front row seat in the supply chain industry, and you have a advantage of you talk with many different ops leaders and supply chain leaders, I would think, and part of trying to grow your company. So you're right there, as well as you have a background in supply chain too. So some of the listeners of this show are well versed in that, and sometimes some listeners are not. They're entering it, or they have an interest in learning more about it. What are your thoughts, your general thoughts on the complexity of supply chain that maybe the average layman or the average person does not realize? Because when I got involved with it, I was shocked at how complex and complicated everything is. What do you think about that, from having a front row seat for it all?
I continue to be shocked at how complicated it is. Like, I'll give you one really specific example. So, like, we were working with a company who's very interested in being more sustainable and more circular around handling
Yep.
their overstock. And then they told us that if they destroy products, customs has to come in and supervise that
Mm.
process. And they're like, oh, how can you help us with this process? Like, the government is involved in the process of us handling our overstock, right? And
Yeah.
categories like alcohol, there's wine taxes. So I continue every single day to learn more and more about this industry as we expand the categories that we work with. And it's really complicated. I think to me, this is the most rewarding industry to be a part of because it's helped me understand the world better. Every single time something happens in supply chain, it affects the stock market, right? Like once you understand supply chain, you understand commodities trading, you understand how hedge funds work and operate. Like it has just made me not just a better builder, but a better operator in general. Like I understand, geopolitical conflict. Like if a reporter asks me, how is that affecting freight prices? Like say I look at like the rate chart, right? And I see like, a few weeks ago, like El Mencho in Mexico, right? If you look at the freight prices in Guadalajara and Mexico, they immediately shot up, right? Like being able to kind of connect and understand like how do all these different, events and different things in the world affect our day to day. Like there's a delay. Like, for example, Amazon just shut some of their warehouses down, I believe
Yep.
in Abu Dhabi due to the conflict in the Middle East, right? The
Yep.
average American, if they receive a delayed order, they maybe don't have insight into the complexity of that, like the way your
Yep.
products get shipped to you. So I think that there is so much that Americans and people in general have to learn about how the supply chain industry operates.
Yeah, well, I think they hear the term on TV or the news or something, and then they just sort of think that they understand it. But it's like the analogy I've always heard is like an old mechanical watch. You ever have an old mechanical watch, and you see the watch face, but underneath the watch face is all these gears, and they all got to turn right in time, and they all got to
Yeah.
work. And I've heard you mention on another podcast, because I listened to some of the other stuff you said, and you're like, well, hey, when the average American is losing weight and getting more fit because the fitness industry is coming online. Guess what? That affects the supply chain because you have all these clothes, all these clothes that were made for one
Overstock
size, and
clothing.
yeah, and now what do you do with them? And so that's what it's just all of these things people don't intuitively realize how all the complexities and the delicate balance. So anytime I get people that have a front row seat for that, I always want them to bring that up on the show just so that people are aware that, hey man, this is this is super complex industry in a lot of ways that you might not think about. And you're right. Once you understand it, you know how all those cogs turn. You're like a super user now. You see
Yeah.
it's like the Matrix, right? You can just see, you see all the stuff, you understand how the Matrix works, you're good to go. So very, very good points there.
No, exactly.
Now,
Like right now we're talking oh, sorry, really quickly, we're talking right now about GLP-1 in the food and beverage industry, like in
yeah,
the wine and alcohol industry as well, right? Like there's a lot of discussion with not just my customers, but with reporters reaching out. And everyone kind of wants to know like how like GLP-1, the airlines have come out and said this has actually decreased our fuel costs, which is crazy.
yeah,
Like that's not the immediate thing that comes to my mind when I think about how will GLP-1 affect America. But the airlines are like, we're saving money, a lot of the apparel brands have overstock product. The food manufacturers, a lot of the sugary cereals, the sugary snacks, the, Red 40, all of that, they're struggling in the sense that people aren't consuming as much. So there are so many downstream effects of something like GLP-1 on the supply chain. It's really interesting to connect all those dots.
yeah, and it's a capitalistic society too. So no one person or one entity is in control of all this, right? It's all
Exactly.
controlling itself on its own, and so then you have to always be aware of what unintended consequences may be, how to adjust to them, how to be versatile, how to have flexibility, and yeah, I mean it's right there. So now let me ask this question: a lot of companies, and I've heard you talk about this too, where hey, if I am a startup, if I am trying to have a relationship with companies and provide a service for them and ultimately have them buy and use my product, I have to be able to do two things. And one of them is show them how I can earn them money or show them how I can save them money. So, but do you think, I mean, is there a third or a fourth option? I know some people have some other companies have some other things, but for me, where I sit, most of the ops I deal with, that is the two main
Yeah.
questions that everybody wants to know. And I mean, there's some side stuff and everything, but that is it. So I know you've said that before. Is that, I mean, do you 100% believe in that? And how have you changed or molded your strategy as an entrepreneur to just match that reality, I guess?
I think that that statement is like a very supply chain perspective, like specific to the problem we solve. So, like when we talk with companies, half the time the way they're thinking about this on their P&L, like say it's a supply chain finance team or their accounting team as a part of the conversation, it's like, is liquidation, is donation, is it helping me save money because I'm not
Yeah,
paying for storage, I'm not paying for, carrying costs, like opportunity costs, all of that? Or is it helping me make money because it's literally a new revenue channel? It's like now I get tax deductions. Now I get, cash unlocked. I get to accelerate my working capital. It is a constant like flip-flop between how is this kind of positioned. And I think honestly, it just comes down to the particular company. Like there
yeah,
isn't really a pattern. Some customers, they tell us directly, they're like, this is how we set up our P&L. This is how we think about supply chain finance, how we think about overstock. Like this is the big challenge that we face. I think the third thing that we try to optimize, which is a little bit harder to quantify, is sustainability. And I think
sure.
this is really important just because supply chain is one of the biggest emitters of everything, of pollution, of energy. Like
It's huge.
there is a huge efficiency advantage in being able to optimize how we pack trucks more efficiently, how we load pallets, like the fewer trucks on the road means that we're more efficient. That efficiency optimization ultimately is revenue. It's like you're saving them money or you're making your customers more money. So I think the sustainability angle is really interesting because I think more and more there's starting to be a recognition that supply chain is intrinsically linked to, how do we think about our environment? How do we think about the amount of, energy that we consume if you look at the logistics industry, which consumes a lot.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if you're Sotira, you're like making the case, guess what? I can make the argument of why I'm saving you money and earning you money and helping with sustainability. So that moves you to the front of the line, right? You have all things. If you say hey, I can help with sustainability, but it's going to cost you money and it's not going to make you any more money. They're like, we'll be in touch with you. We're interested. We'll be in touch type thing. But if you're doing all three, no, boom. That's how you go to the front of the line, and that's how you make an impact. I mean, those are the companies that make an impact because they have solved all three of those. Like it sounds like you have. So awesome. Kudos to you. That's really good. But what about AI? I mean, you have a tech background. I know you're from California, Silicon Valley is where you grew up. So AI is everywhere. I've had AI people on the podcast before, but where do you see it? I mean, how much is AI going to be moving the needle in the supply chain for both the near term and the long term future? Because a lot of companies are investing a lot of money into it. They are having a lot of training. Like I think everyone's starting to realize, understand that this is going to be the main thing for the future. But how do you see it?
I think there's a lot of emerging companies that are seeing supply chain as kind of like a gold rush opportunity for AI because the industry is so manual. Like everything is manual, like we had a deal where we were trying to figure out how many trucks we needed for a large load of sparkling beverages. And we had 3 people who were helping plan this out, right? And one person said 7 trucks, one person said 5, and one person said 6. And we were like, why is everybody getting a different estimate? And everybody was kind of, suggesting a different way of packing, right? We had all these different SKUs and everything, and it took forever to just figure out like how many trucks do we actually need? Obviously, we want as few trucks as possible. That's fewer pickups, that's fewer freight costs, all of that. So there are a million different aspects of supply chain that can be automated. And that's not even our business, is automating how you pack, but it's a problem that I think is, AI could help solve that. So I think ultimately, I will say that I think that the problem with using too much AI in supply chain or marketing solutions as AI forward is that the problem in supply chain is not really building the tech. It's getting it distributed to the people who need it. That's what I've seen as the challenge. I went on to Fox a few months ago and I spoke about this and I said, we have an aging population in America operating warehouses. I see this every single day. I go into warehouses, I talk to our liquidators, our buyers, and I'll ask them because they'll be like, hey, my daughter is around your age, plus or minus 10 years, whatever. I don't want her to run this warehouse. I don't want her to take over my business. She wants to go to New York and she wants to live like a corporate life. This working in a warehouse, working with pallets, it's not sexy, right? And he said, I don't know what to do. Like, I need to retire in a few years. My kids won't take over the business. What's going to happen? And I think we're starting to see this as a problem at scale across the US. And that's why I say that the tech is great, but the existing operators, being able to get that into the hands of those operators and train them on how to use AI, that is a bigger challenge than actually building the AI.
Yeah, I think that supply chain, warehouse distribution has a little bit of a branding challenge, a little bit of a branding problem with the up and coming generation. And that's why it's good to have, podcasts and people out there and young people, because I can tell you that maybe 15 years ago, the image of a warehouse was just old warehouse, dusty warehouse, a couple of big guys driving forklifts in the back of it. But now, if you go into a fulfillment center now, it is some of the most high tech, fast, and some of the sharpest, smartest people are working there in that industry. And as that image starts to change, I think more and more people will be turned on to it and gravitate towards it. So I'm happy that you're one of the ones that's out there speaking about it and making it cool. Now, let me say this. In my opinion, I have an opinion on this. Overstock is not going away. Not now, not ever. There was a time where just in time was the buzzword, and then COVID hit and just in time was out. Nobody wanted just in time, but I don't think overstock's going anywhere. I mean, there's just too many reasons why. It's how people buy, and you have pressure on sales, and they got to have more inventory, and there's many reasons. But how do you see it? I mean, what do you hear from the companies that are on the front lines, that are launching initiatives to try to reduce their? I mean, do you think overstock's going away? Is it going to get higher, or do you think that it's going to be reduced? Like, what do you think about the future of this type of inventory in warehouses across the country?
We get criticism from people in the supply chain industry saying that we're not solving a new problem. And my response is, frankly, we're not. Like, overstock has existed as a problem since the beginning of retail, since the beginning of e-commerce, right? Like, you look at companies like, Nordstrom Rack, like we're seeing, there's a consolidation of some companies in this space right now as well, right? Like with Saks Off Fifth. But if you look at like TJX, like their market cap right now, as an example, is 4 times that of Target. Like they're doing really well. If you look at the overstock procurement industry, right? People walking in to a Home Goods or to a TJX, just as an example, or Marshalls, right? So this is not a new problem. This industry is growing, it's getting bigger. And for us, we see that because it's still a problem that exists, there's still more opportunity to be able to solve it. So I think it's exactly what you said. The problem is not going away. We don't really have customers coming to us and saying this is a one-time thing. If they do say that, they typically are wrong. They come back to us next quarter. They're like, hey, we actually have another truckload of product, or, we had
Yep.
this product from a brand refresh or from packaging changes, or this SKU just didn't sell well. So we need to liquidate it. So it's a consistent, it's a recurring problem. And I think for us, that's exactly what we want in a business model is we want customers who come back to us over and over again, customers who give
Yep.
us good testimonials. They work with us once and they're like, okay, like this solved my problem in a way that is better. I will go back to Sotira.
Yeah, I mean, and companies respond to the consumer demand. I mean, they don't operate in a bubble. So as the consumer demand continues to go up and up and up, the companies are going to go up to match that. That's what the CEOs are saying. That's what the chief operating officers. So your buyers and supply chains are going to respond to that. So that's why I just don't think that, despite what people may want, right? Everybody may want less inventory, and I don't disagree with that. I think that would be great. I just don't think it's just the reality of how the real world works with people and incentives and consumer demand and everything. So,
Yeah.
it's here to stay. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a part of it. So let me ask this question. So I mentioned this earlier. You have a tech background for Silicon Valley. You work in supply chain, and the knock on supply chain is it's not exactly the most cutting edge as it pertains to tech. And in fact, some people may argue that supply chain is a little bit like trailing edge. So, how have you begun to reconcile? I mean, have you seen people, let's say in the Midwest, right? You have an operator in the Midwest. I mean, have you seen them anxious to adopt solutions like what you have? Do they drag their feet? Do they need to be educated on it first? And then once they have familiarity with it, then they jump on board? Like, what have been sort of the barriers or the headwinds that you face to get people to adopt? And how have you countered those?
I think like 2 years ago, like let's say the summer before last, like we were all over like New Jersey going into a lot of our customers' warehouses, right? Like we just spent a lot of time out there, Edison Warehouse District, is an example. And ChatGPT, product by OpenAI was kind of early in mainstream America at this point. And a lot of our customers had just never heard of ChatGPT. They'd never heard the word agent, the word model. We had some of our customers come into our office and we were kind of doing some, user interviews and product testing with them on our software. And we realized then that like, the average American maybe doesn't know what these AI capabilities are, which means that AI in itself has a branding issue with relation to these
Yeah.
industries. If you have a landing page that just says all of these technical buzzwords, which I have a technical background, so I can use all the buzzwords. I do when I speak at AI conferences. But if your landing page and your, marketing on LinkedIn and marketing at supply chain conferences is super tech buzzwordy and your customers don't understand what that means, then it doesn't have any meaning. So I think for us, what we see is that AI is merely the back end process that is basically facilitating the offloading of overstock. It is the process that our platform uses. We really position ourselves more as a reverse logistics company. Like our goal is that we want to help you with your reverse logistics. That is language that warehouse operators and fulfillment operators understand. And for some of our customers, they don't even really care what the technical mechanism is behind our software. If it makes them more money, saves them money, or actually solves their problem. Like earlier today, as an example, we onboarded a brand that's been trying to clear inventory for the last 3 months. And they were just like, if you can even get this sold, that's a win for me. They're like, at this point, like, we're willing to go super low on price. It's just like, can you even do this? So at that point, like I said, the technical mechanism and the buzzwords, they don't matter. It's just like, can we solve the problem? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think operators in this space do not like to be told or sold on features.
Yeah, I would
Like
agree.
features are meaningless to them. Like solutions to their problem matter because they're I mean, look what their day-to-day life is like. They're balancing 15, 20 different things. They've got pressure, they've got customers calling, they've got employees calling out, they've got, pressure from the executive. They get all these things. And so they're not going to be into the feature that you have or the buzzword that you have. You're right. But the moment that you can be like, no, 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 this is going to solve this pain point and this problem, that's going to make your life infinitely better. Oh man, now I love AI, right? Like now I love all the features that Sotira has and all these things. So I think you're spot on that and really understanding the culture and what makes people tick in this industry and where you fit in that. And once you do that, then you become very sticky, I think, over the long term, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to be very sticky. So what do we need to do about the appeal of supply chain or lack thereof for youth? I mean, you're young. I have kids that are coming up too, and people in the neighborhood, and they know I work in this, and they know I have the podcast, and they think it's cool, but they're like, there's not a whole lot of other cool stuff out there. So, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, do you think that
Yeah.
it's just education? You think it's branding? I mean, do you think it's the nature of the industry or other things? Like, where do you come down on it?
So, like, after I spoke on Fox about this, where I was like, America needs to have a wake up call. Like, we're not going to have enough truck drivers. We're not going to have enough people working in warehouses. And, the orders that we want, like, we want our orders next day, right? Like, we've got
Yep.
TikTok Shop. We've got all these new channels where we just need more labor and more people in the industry. I had dozens of warehouse operators who I would say were in the baby boomer age category who were
Yeah.
calling me up from all over America, like Michigan, you know, middle America, coastal cities, like people were calling me up and they're like, I need to talk to you about this because I don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
don't know how to get my kid engaged. I don't know what to do with my business. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out the answer to this. I think the research that I've shared is that if you look at the aspect of college in America right now, like even public state school college, and I went to a public state school college, it's expensive, right? A lot of Americans are not seeing an ROI from going to a traditional four-year university. And we are actually seeing an increase the last few months in young Americans, like Gen Z Americans, entering the trades as a result, because
Yep.
the trades can come across as stable. Like even in times of war, or I guess especially in times of war, we need supply chain, right? Like physically, we
Yep.
always need to move things from point A to point B. I work with so many, supply chain operators who have a ex-military or ex-Navy background, and they are some of the hardest working people that you will meet. So I think there's more and more an awareness that like supply chain is an industry, you don't need to have a traditional background. Like you can honestly have any kind of background. I've met people who come from like CIA, who come from special forces. That's actually one thing I love about this industry is that
Yep.
everybody has their own unique backstory. Like I work with some people who they grew up selling sneakers in their neighborhood, like it's just like everyone is interested in like commerce, interested in like the logistics of, like I said, moving things from point A to point B. So I think that there is a lot of education that I don't know who needs to do this. Maybe it's the government, maybe it's our school systems, our high schools could kind of give around what are the career opportunities for young people in logistics and supply chain and in adjacent industries that America, I mean, this is literally the backbone of America. Like this is
Yeah.
exactly what our country relies on. Again, especially if you look
Yeah.
at companies like Amazon and the reliance that we have on them.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it's physical products and they don't move themselves. And I mean, digital products are great, but you can't consume them, right? You can't
Yeah.
wear them. You can't, I mean, so physical products are not going away. And I'll tell you, like, you go into a corporate boardroom, I've been into corporate boardrooms and I want to be careful how I say this. Just everybody sort of looks the same to me, right? They feel the same. They look the same. You go into a fulfillment center. Oh wow, you
I
you
know.
see people from all over the spectrum. From you name it. It's very diverse, very eclectic. But I mean, they're all very talented, right? Usually very talented. So that's I think one of the appeals. If you want to work in an environment like that, where it's like come as you are, everybody comes here. It's the talent it's the place to be. I like that. No disrespect to corporate boardrooms, right? So I sit in them. We all sit in them, but it's just the way that is. All right. So let me ask this. You start Sotira, up and coming company, new start. What's the grind been like for you? Every entrepreneur has stories of headwinds that they face or setbacks, but what's the grind been like for you? And what drives you? I mean, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you pushing you to grow this and make it bigger every day?
I think part of what motivates me is the social impact behind what we're doing. Like, you'd be surprised. I talked to a very large company and they'll say we have a ton of overstock. And you think the last thing they care about is sustainability or circularity. And all of a sudden I say something along those lines. I'm like, we have a network that can help you keep these products in use, like a circularity network. And they point to me and they're like, that's it. They're like, that's
Love
exactly
it.
what I need to convince corporate or what I need to convince upper management or whoever the buyer is on our team. So I think that intrinsically, a lot of the people I work with, everyone just wants to do the right thing. Like that's what it
Yeah.
comes down to. It's like nobody wants to see waste. Everyone gets that twinge, even if it's not your product. You work for a billion-dollar conglomerate fulfillment company or shipping company. Nobody wants to see product being wasted and product go in the
No.
landfill. And so with a lot of the customers that we work with, being able to actually quantify like this is the, pounds of carbon that we have reduced. This is the equivalent in terms of the number of cars that we've taken off the road from a climate impact. Even if you are not necessarily, focused on climate or you wouldn't consider yourself to be a sustainability company, these metrics have a lot of meaning behind them. If you look at the
Yeah.
grander scheme of, like I said, this is a physical problem. Like if you have overstock textiles like clothing and you burn those textiles, there are we've got methane, we've got a bunch of environmental
Yep.
problems that result as a result of burning that product. So ultimately, it's just like working with people who are interested in solving this problem and seeing, how can we effectively make our communities healthier and safer?
Yeah, I love that, and sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind for people. They don't see it. They don't see it every day, so they don't think it's a problem. But it's there. I mean, landfills are there. It's happening. Like you can go see it,
Yeah.
and I think everybody inherently does not like that. Does not want that. They're looking and for solutions to this problem, and you're right there, providing solutions for that, right in the thick of it. So, good on you. So, well, where can people find out more about you? I mean, I follow you on LinkedIn. You're all over. I mean, you've done lots of interviews. You've been on television shows and news shows and other podcasts. So, but where can people find you? And what do you got? What are you working on for 2026 and beyond? What's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, for sure. I would say LinkedIn is the best way to get in touch with me. There's an amazing supply chain community on there. Everyone is super active, especially around like conference season and like what shows we're going to and where we're all going
Yeah.
to be able to meet each other. So feel free to message me on LinkedIn. You can also email me. Obviously, you can visit our website, www.sotira.co. In terms of this year, a lot of the supply chain conferences I'll be at or I'll be speaking at. I'm speaking at some, regular tech or business conferences like Web Summit, South by
Yeah.
Southwest. And I love those conferences as well because oftentimes I'm educating people on the industry. I'm educating people on, what does supply chain look like? What are the challenges? This may be the first time that a layperson is actually learning about the complexity of how you
Mm.
handle overstock. And, we get customers who are like, why do companies have overstock? Why does overstock even exist? So people oftentimes those lay people, it's really rewarding to be able to educate them and show the impact of a problem that, like you mentioned, may be invisible or out of sight, out of mind to them. But yeah, I love to talk with people about any of these topics around reverse logistics, overstock. If you are a warehouse operator who has overstock and you're interested in donation or liquidation, definitely feel free to reach out.
Yeah. Well, I hope that they do. I really hope that they do. I mean, it's going to benefit them financially. It's going to benefit them in their facility. It's going to benefit the country, the environment. It's just like wins all around, right? Like
Yeah.
wins all around. And when people are able to get to that point, now we're cooking with Crisco, right? Like now we're really there. So I respect you. Like I respect what you're doing. I really respect you and think that you're doing something great. And I wish you like nothing but success. Great to see folks like you who are doing things like that and putting themselves out there and growing and making a difference. Just like that's awesome. Like seriously, kudos to you. I'll have a lot of respect for you for that. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like obviously somebody like you having a platform and spotlighting this problem of overstock, it's doing a lot of good for the industry in general.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Amrita, thank you again for appearing on the podcast. It was awesome chatting with you. I feel like I could talk with you for hours, but we only got to keep it short for the podcast. So, thanks again. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope to see you around on the LinkedIn streets where I hang out. Right, it's where I hang out these days.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds great. I definitely look forward to keeping in touch on everything.
Yeah, you got it. All right. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys, that concludes today's episode. Please reach out to Amrita online. Watch some of the interviews that she's done on TV. Super sharp, solving a fantastic solution to a major problem that plagues supply chain and will continue to plague supply chain. So reach out to her today. Awesome work. Really enjoyed featuring her on the show. As the Warehouse Underground goes, please sign up for the community if you haven't done so. I've almost 300 people that are members now that have signed up for the community. So check that out. We got message board in there. We do live events, live shows, networking, all kinds of cool stuff going on inside the community. Check out the Tiger Team show, which is other show that I do with my co-host Jordan. It's all about life in warehouses, DCs, and FCs, but with a wit, humor, and sarcastic slant to it. So I think if you guys will like that if you work in that industry. So as this podcast goes, I will see you next week for episode number 38. Thank you. God bless.